Here. Okay. So now, before the burn method, I'm going to talk about the traditional way of buying a property, right? There's the savvy way, which is the burn method, and then there's a traditional way of buying a property. This is what we're all accustomed to, right? When you buy our own houses, the average, like 90% of real estate investors, this is how they're going to invest, right, in property. So you identify a property, it's turnkey, no rehab necessary, completely remodeled. Maybe not completely remodeled, but it's livable. It's a good rental property, right? Let's say you find it for $300,000, right? And you say, hey, I have bunch of savings, right? I have a lot of savings. I need to allocate those funds somewhere. Why not do it towards a property? So you say, okay, I'm going to take 20,000 or 20% from my savings and put it in as down payment. So that 20% of $300,000 is $60,000, right? So you're putting $60,000 towards that property. Okay. So now that money, I'm going to ask you this question, like what happens to that money, that $60,000? Like where does that go? Simple question. Someone answer it. So when you bought your own house, you put 20% down, where does that go towards?
Your down payment, your closing cost,
Yeah, but
right?
but where is it? Like, does it disappear? Is it gone? Do you lose it? Do you like like conceptually, where is that
Oh,
money?
it's or it's your equity in the house.
There you go. It's your equity, right? That's your equity. So you have, but it's not something that's tangible, right? The 60,000 is in the house, right? It's not something that you have access to anymore, right? Now, so now, so you purchase that house, and now you have a mortgage, right? So you have a $240,000 loan because you put down 60,000. Now you have a $240,000 loan, and the mortgage from that is $2,500. And let's say you found a renter, and in that market for that type of a house, $2,700 is the average rent. All right, great, awesome. So now you're getting $200 of cash flow every single month. In some examples, you get zero cash flow. Because for some folks, it's all about just having an asset. They don't care about cash flow, right? So now this is the traditional way of buying an investment property, right? You have now, now you want to buy another property, right? Now you got to save up another $60,000 or 80,000 or whatever. Or you may have an additional 60,000 in your savings account that you want to put towards it. So maybe for the person who needs to save up, they have to wait another 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and now they want to buy another property. So they keep doing this, and it takes them a long time to build a portfolio because they don't have loose cash. It's money that they're saving up, right? And they have that money that's stuck in there. Now, it's okay because they've got this $300,000. This house is worth $300,000. Every year it's going to grow. The value is going to grow, and every year, every month, you're paying down the asset, right? So the equity is definitely going to grow, right? Completely fine. There's nothing negative about this, but there's a better way of investing, which is to scale and to not use your own money and to use other people's money, or to invest in a way where even if you do use your money, it's going to come back to you in a matter of months, and you can keep scaling and keep buying property every couple months. Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about here. Um, so in this example, you have, um, let's say you don't have any money, right? You're not that guy who's that professional who saved up for years and years and years, and you have a nest egg of like six figures in your bank account, right? You're not that person who has assets in general. So what you're going to do in this scenario is you identify a property that's value add. What do I mean by value add? It's a house that needs work. It's a fixer upper, or or for whatever reason, it's way under market value. Seller is going through distress. They need to offload it. The house is just way below market value, right? The property is worth $300,000, kind of like in this scenario, it's already 300 worth $300,000. This in this scenario, the property's worth $300,000 fixed up. You know that, but you're able to get it somehow for $180,000, right? It says value add. Okay. Now, in this scenario, there's um, um, with the lending situation, yeah, you're putting 10 to 20% down, right? And you can either go one of two routes. You can use a private money lender, right? You find a private money lender in your network who's able to cover the entire amount, right? For a return on their investment, right? And there's plenty of them out there, trust me. Um, or you can use what's called a hard money loan, where you're putting down 10 to 20%, and the hard money lender will cover 80 to 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab. Okay. Now, stick with me because this 10 to 20%, you're not, it's not like in this scenario where it's just going into the property and it's lost in there. In this scenario, you're getting it back, and I'll explain how in a little bit. So you're creating value by adding $20,000 of rehab. So now you're all in at $200,000, right? And now it's worth $300,000. You're all in at 200K. This is a more simplified example. I'm going to get to a more, um, more complex example in a bit. But creating $300,000 in value, and let's say that's what it was appraised at, right? $300,000. You did the analysis beforehand. You knew that if I'm going to fix this property up, it's going to be worth $300,000. So let's say the bank comes and they appraise it at exactly that much, right? Um, Now what's going to happen is the bank will give you 75% of that, right? And in this case, 75% of 300,000 is, of course, my phone decides to go into an update. What's the math there, guys? 75% of 300. I think it's around 220 or something.
25.
225. Okay. So now the bank will give you $225,000 as your new loan, right? And you're going to pay off the $200,000, and now you have a brand new loan. You pay off the $200,000, which includes what? It includes the down payment you put here, right? It includes the loan that you got from the first lender, the hard money lender or the private money lender, right? You pay that off, and now you have a property with a mortgage of $200,000, PITI 2100. Your rental income is 2700. Again, I'm using the same example here. It's the same property, right? This one you're buying at turnkey. This one you're buying as a value add. Okay. Rental income 2700. Your cash flow is 600, so it's $400 more than that one. And the biggest deal is that you have equity in this property of of $100,000 because your mortgage is 200, property is worth 300. You have $100,000 of equity in it, and none of your money is tied to the property. You have no cash in deal, right? This $60,000 in this scenario where it's tied in this scenario, you got it back because when you refinanced it, you raised the value so high to such a degree that when you refinanced it, you've gotten it back. Okay?
No, hang on
This is
right
just
there. How much did you get back?
so you got back all of your, so in this case, you're putting 20% down, right, of the 180, right? 20% of 180 is like $30,000, right? That's the money that you put in there from whatever source that you found that money from. Even that could be from a private lender, it could be from your savings, whatever. But that money is coming back to you after you refinance the
Right. So
property.
with the bank gave 225, right?
Right, right.
Right. And you spent all in 200, right?
That's right.
So yeah, look at how cool that is. The coolest thing there is for those of you that want to flip, this is a way that you can actually hold rental property and still make money. Now, it's not always going to be this way, but you spend $200,000 on the house, the bank gave you $225,000 after you're all done. You pocket that $25,000 if you want. So not only did you pocket that $25,000, but you still hold an asset that has $100,000 worth of equity. That's how powerful this technique is. And that's just crazy.
Yeah. So so now there's two ways to fund this deal, right? And
Janet,
I
sorry to interrupt. Can you go
sure.
back to line, scroll up a little bit? The 225K in row
Yeah.
24, what does that signify? What is that number?
So 225 is 75%
Okay, okay, yeah, got it.
of the value of $300,000. So your new loan when you refinance your house is going to be $225,000.
Correct. Okay. So basically, you're paying mortgage on 225.
Well,
Got it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And how long are we looking at this entire process to take place?
Okay, so yeah, no, good question. I'll get that in a second. So from the time you buy the house, so you buy the house, right? Now it's going to require rehab, right? Um, typically a typical rehab, if it's average rehab will take you a month, right? 3 to 4 weeks, maybe five, six, depending on how complicated it is. So let's say 6 weeks, right? So now you're 6 weeks in. And now once you rehab the house, you're going to get a renter in, right? And you get a renter in, that process takes a couple weeks. Um, and now you're at like 2 months, right? Now after month three, because when you're going to refinance the house as soon as you can. But what happens is sometimes with banks, there's a period called a seasoning period where they don't allow you to refinance a house until 3 months have passed by or 6 months have passed by. For the most part, you can do it after 3 or 4 months. So it's really 3 to 4 months. Within 3 to 4 months, you can refinance out of this house, pay back your first loan, have a new loan, you have a renter in there, you're cash flowing, and you're set. So ideally, like if you're using an investor, let's say you're using a private money lender to fund part of this deal or all of the deal, you can tell them, hey, give yourself some padding. In 6 months, if you give me 100, you give me $200,000 in funding, in 6 months, I'll return those funds to you, and I'll give you an X amount of return, right? Whether it be 7, 8, 9, 10%, whatever. And that's an amazing return for them, right? Because that's 6 months annually, 16% return, 20% return, right? You can keep those funds with you and you keep rolling those funds property to property to property.
Keep in mind, there's gonna be two different scenarios, right? Like, if you're keeping it as a rental, it'll be a little bit quicker than it is for a flip. Reason being is like on a rental, once you're done with the rehab, you get a renter in, then you're ready to refinance, right? On a flip, once you're done with the rehab, you have to list it on the market and find a buyer. And then when that buyer comes in, if it's an end buyer, it may take 45 days for them to get their loan, right? So it will take a little bit longer on the flip side of things. So that's why Janae was saying like about 6 months or so, just roughly.